Hello students, we're getting ready to review chapter 14 all about media, and in chapter 13 we discuss paid media. In this chapter we're talking about owned media, interactive, and then get into some earned media as well. So owned media is a company owns it, and that also means that they control it. Sorry about that. All of a sudden I'm getting a lot of messages in here. Okay, so let's talk about what the advantages are. Number one, you control it, and there's versatility with owned media. And it's useful in addressing a variety of audiences, your different contact points, and in the time frame that you would like it to be released. It's useful in addressing objectives, including loyalty and development of consumer brand relationships. Examples of owned media include things like your corporate video, your corporate website, blog, anything that you have on your site that you've created. The disadvantages are that you have little or no control over whether a consumer is going to be exposed to this website or video. So you have to, as a company, come up with a way to increase exposure to your website or your video or your blog. And that means driving traffic means that you need extra efforts to get your audience to come to you. And that is also why some online programs are supported by offline traditional advertising. Corporate presence in the media includes things like the design of a building or even a delivery truck. The IMC planning in this, it's important that all contact points create a visual face of the organization or brand. So every piece of the brand is represented, whether it's their building, their product, their service, delivery truck, a brochure, anything that goes out from the company needs to be in sync in the IMC plan. How they present the brand image sends an important message to the audience. So an example I'd like to give is Google. So Google, we know, is a very much a interesting, progressive company, and even the building that they have their headquarters in is very progressive and interesting space. So that gets me to the point of the environmental design of a company. What a building looks like inside and out may reflect the image of the company and make a brand statement. Design, decor, physical appearance sends a message about the style and the personality of the brand. So the interiors and the public spaces also convey that message. So you think, again, Google, they have a lot of space where it's unconventional, not typical offices. It's set up in a very free-thinking format where they have, pods to, regroup. They might have an open kitchen concept, bring your dog to work, a gym, open areas that typically are not in a conservative workforce or workplace. So that's an example of a company that not only is progressive, but everything about it shows you that they're progressive. Here's an interesting example. We might not think of McDonald's as a progressive company, although they're always trying to do something different. But this is a new design that McDonald's is putting in so that they're now serving that hipper, cooler customer. They're trying to bring people in from Starbucks is what they're trying to do. So they're trying to have different environments so that it's not the traditional like play area. Now they have like more upholstered seating, interesting lighting, group areas to sit to accommodate millennials and Gen Z So that, and they're also competing with their competition, such as Panera, Starbucks. So corporate presence in the media also leads us to things like signage. And the signage of anything of your outdoor media for corporate signs, on-premise signs, identify a store. Inexpensive forms of signs are certainly out there, from bumper stickers to media and political campaigns. I have a picture of a Tesla here. Their signage, again, very cool and interesting, just like their cars. Here's another interesting picture of Bally's in Vegas. That's their advertising on the strip. And it's a way to connect with your customer and also continue that messaging of who they are. Another part of this, appearance-wise, is a delivery truck. They also deliver a message when you see them on the road. You know, if you see a dirty, beat-up truck for a company, what does it tell you about a company? I have a picture of a Publix here, and typically they have a saying that, you know, we make your shopping enjoyable, and they have, you know, some kind of a beautiful picture of a baked good or a salad or something. But that also the staff at a company, their appearance and attitude will also send a message, positively or negatively, to a audience. Companies find endless opportunities in media tools that bear the brand's name. As we know, there's lots of ways to get connected with the customer. One of them is branded entertainment. We talked about this before when I showed you or gave you the link for the Lego video. And it uses media as entertainment to engage consumers with the brand. The goal is to associate the brand with fun or entertainment experience and creates positive feelings. So I have an example here. Although the song's a little old, American Express teamed up with Taylor Swift to promote one of her concerts, and it's a great way for American Express to associate themselves with a popular singer-songwriter. So take a look at that, and you'll get a sense of what I mean by branded entertainment. So there's also more. There's promotional video networks that run sponsored programs and commercials. There's branded videos. We talked about those before. Similar to television programs, there's webisodes. They're specifically created as a new form of web advertising. And it's actually another advertising platform. There's a lot of The Walking Dead has utilized this platform, but it's just a very quick episode that's shown on the web that kind of entices people to tune into their particular program. More on branded media. Naming rights for events and buildings are another high visibility area of branded media. It's all around us, including on our campus. Certainly, Office Depot has supported FAU, so much so that they've donated a building. And the whole objective here is brand visibility. And naming rights dominate, football games as well as university buildings. BB&T Arena is another example of a bank that has connected themselves to a building, and great advertising. Packaging proclaims a brand identity, and merchandising materials attract the attention and deliver a sales message. So, we might not think of a package as a communication vehicle, but it absolutely is. It is literally the last ad a customer sees before they make a decision to purchase a product. And I use the example of maybe a Target or a Walmart or a grocery store. But a great example is all of the energy drinks that are out there, from Rockstar to Red Bull to Monster. They're all saying something about their brand. Small cans, skinny cans, fat cans, large cans. All that packaging is sending a message, and it's connecting with us in some way, whether it be the colors or the size or the saying or what they stand for. Merchandising materials, look around a store sometimes. Sometimes you can't get down an aisle because there's so much stuff in the aisle, but also on the shelves. Shelves are used now at, say, grocery stores or big box stores to communicate with us. They're called shelf talkers. And it can have anything on there from telling you something's kosher to gluten-free to something's on sale. A recipe or coupon might be connected with it. Point of sale material, it's also called POS, or point of purchase material, POP. They call our attention to a brand, and it might be in an aisle of a store or otherwise, but it gives us a reason to buy the product. It could be on sale. There might be a new flavor out, some new packaging, something new for summer. So that's also media in the retail level, though. Videos and publications. Most company PR videos are available through corporate websites. Most companies have some sort of videos. Now, as far as Grace Notes goes, check out what they have. Is it purposeful? Is it impactful? What would you recommend to them? Okay. Maybe you could even put something together in a story board scenario. These are definitely useful tools because they give you more in-depth information about a company. But also companies produce things like annual reports, brochures, newsletters, magazines, things like that. So that's all part of owned media. Publicity media, designed to encourage news media coverage. Okay, so press releases and video releases are important to share a story about your company or some news about your company, and it needs to be put together in a professional way. Maybe some of you are familiar with this, but they're called press kits. And it's basically fact sheets, information, everything somebody would need to do a story about your company. And it could be you have a new owner or a new product or a new location, or you've merged with another company. But that's publicity that you want to get out there. And to make it easier for the media, companies create things like press kits. Now I'm going to show you a couple things here. One is a corporate video. This is actually a company that my husband used to work for. It's called Planalytics. And it's a pretty interesting company. Hopefully you'll get to know what they do when you see their What We Do video. And on the next page, I'm going to show you a link to FAU's press kit, specifically for their sports teams. Because you look around that arena and you're going to see sponsorships. And this is how they get their information out there to prospective sponsors, or maybe there's a story being told in the news about FAU and their football team or whatever, their softball team, whatever team is out there, and they want to be able to have consistent information, and this is where the press kit comes. It's kind of like a little cheat sheet for the media. So take a look at this video and you'll get a sense of what we're talking about. And I think this might be helpful for you because when you're putting together suggestions for Grace Notes, I think it's a good idea to not only look at nonprofit websites, but also websites like this to give you some information on how simple it really needs to be. It doesn't need to be an elaborate video. It just needs to be something that when the customer or viewer or audience, target audience, is done looking at it, they go, oh, I get it. It's very clear what we do and how would I like to get involved. Here's the FAU press kit, so take a look at that. And then more information on brand reminders and rewards, all part of owned media, because I'm controlling this, okay? So it's called a premium. And again, this is something you already know, but I might just be putting a vocabulary word to it. But a premium is a tangible reward for a particular act. usually purchasing or repurchasing a product. And premiums also serve as brand reminders, and they recognize relationships. Corporate communication and public relations programs, as well as high-end sales programs, may use like higher-end gifts. So I'm going to give you the examples that I've chosen at the bottom of the page here. So Wawa, who you're hopefully getting more familiar with, is a convenience store that has a lot of food service and sells a lot of coffee. Well, every year, I think twice a year, they have their free any size coffee day. And it's like this reward to their customers. And in Pennsylvania, it's such a big deal because Wawa is headquartered in Pennsylvania. They make such a big deal out of it. But they also hope that it reminds you that, you know, we thank you for being a loyal customer, because you can go anywhere for coffee. But hopefully you'll also come in and buy something else to go along with that coffee. And then the other program I have here is for Bath and Body Works. I think it's an addiction of mine. But they give out premiums to their customers who buy a lot. And I'm one of those people. So like every, say, 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I may get something in the mail that gives me, you know, $5 off a signature spray, or a free gift up to $6, or a free candle, or 20% off my total. So that's something that's kind of rewarding me. It makes me feel special because I feel like, oh, not everybody's getting this. So this happens a lot. And also with higher end programs, there's definitely gifts that are given at the corporate level to clients that you know, continuously use a service or a product. Okay, so more big information here on owned media. Things like place-based media creates unexpected encounters, as we've talked about. They could be like a painted message on the streets. Sign spinners, Lord knows we see those on the road promoting usually real estate. Standing on the street corner. Sometimes during tax season, you know, you'll have H&R Block promoting it. And then there's like these flash mob idea too. It's again trying to get people connected by doing something unexpectedly in a place. And I'll show you an example of that in just a second. So this is a flash mob event for T-Mobile. This happened a while ago, but it'll give you a sense of it if you don't know what it is. But all of a sudden, everyone kind of broke into dance here in London's Liverpool station. And I do have a video to go along with this. But it is unexpected and it is exciting. And people talk about it and videotape it, or video it, not tape it. Video it, they take pictures, and maybe it has a lot more legs to it than just being the flash mob at the time. So owned but interactive. So let's talk. Okay, so interactive media invites users to participate in or respond personally to a message. And the media format, such as an email, Twitter, allows an organization to communicate with their consumer. And that's really important today. And it shouldn't always be something negative. It can be something positive. So I always recommend to anybody, if you went somewhere and got a sandwich, for instance, and it was missing the meat, you know, don't let them get away with that. Take a picture of it and tweet them. I know this happens a lot when people are flying, when they're not happy with the flight, to communicate with the airline. But, you know, they want that now. Companies want us to communicate with them, because they want to keep us as loyal customers and they want to please us. But they can't please us if we don't communicate with them and let them know what the problem is. And it could also be something positive, like this was the most delicious sandwich I had, or the best flight I've ever had. Unfortunately, it usually is the negative, but interactive media, the engagement part of it is the goal. So there's also things like interactive kiosks that are very popular today. They could be at malls, they could be at train stations, they are in places like airports, and now restaurants. So they're basically information formerly that was in a publication can now be seen on a digital wall. Most direct response programs are designed to generate a transaction. So in this case, I have, if you haven't been to one, the latest thing is that you go in and you order what you want at places like Panera and McDonald's. I think it's pretty easy, and it also gives you an opportunity to be a loyal customer in that they'll repeat the order for you if you're a repeat customer, and then you don't have to think too much. Okay, so maybe you've seen them, I'm not sure. Okay, so next is mail, phone, and online messages. Many companies are motivating their customers by connecting with them personally online. And of course, targeting the right prospects is key here. So I have the example of Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A is has been very successful because, you can send all the messages you want out there, but if you do something very specific for a person, first of all, personalize it with their name. Secondly, you can look at their repeat purchases and send them some sort of value that would make that relationship, build that relationship. So it could be a reward for so many points. It could be, hey, I know you purchase breakfast here all the time, but we have a new product out and we want to give it to you for free at lunch. So we'll bring you back again. But it's kind of that motivation to take action and order something. So that's very popular today, and not everybody's doing it right. But Chick-fil-A, they really do a nice job with it, and they don't overdo it. Okay, there's other things that are interactive in owned media. These are called media tours, and they're like conferences on wheels for media representatives that involve an itinerary and a traveling spokesperson. And there could be, traveling from different campuses, different sporting events, sampling the products, getting people to try before they buy. And I have a example here of a Mellow Yellow tour bus. Yes, Mellow Yellow. You may not have had it in a while or ever, but it was a soda that's a lemon lime soda that came out years ago. But it's coming out now with a new flavor. I'm not sure if it's diet or just a new, twist to what they're currently doing. But anyway, take a look at this tour and you'll get a sense of, what they're doing to be interactive with their customers. It's very effective. Trade shows are another way to connect with your customer, and this is usually on the business to business basis or B2B, and it is a big show. I have a picture down here of like an electronics show, and all the latest and greatest information's out there. Anyone that is selling anything to do with electronics is at a trade show. If you've never been to one, it's depending on what kind you go there, it can be pretty interesting, I think. Pretty brutal to be an exhibitor because it's an all-day thing. You're talking to a lot of people. But I've been to so many different ones. The Fancy Food Show in New York. Chicago was the Sweets and Snack Show. That's a good one. There's a seafood conference. There's produce, the London Produce Show. Gosh, they have them in Atlantic City. They have them, the National Grocers Association show in Las Vegas. So they typically go places that are destinations because they want people to enjoy the weather. So I am sure that there's quite a few here in Orlando and Fort Lauderdale that come down. All different types of shows that are out there. But it's a great way to be interactive with showing people how your product works, having them sample your latest product, seeing your packaging, maybe a line extension, whatever it might be. And we also have now we're getting to the websites. So this can definitely be a tool that could be helpful to you. The websites blur the distinction between advertising, direct marketing, and public relations. And it's an online face for an organization that they present to the world. So if it looks cluttered and messy and disorganized, what kind of message are you putting out there? But also these days, a website can also function as an e-commerce site, which may not be a bad idea. I know that Grace Notes currently takes donations through their website, but perhaps there's another way to do some sort of fundraising, such as, I'm not sure if they currently do this, a t-shirt, a mug, a pen, something like a yearly donation, and you receive like an invitation to a concert. But this might also be a great way for fans of Grace Notes to collect, collateral material, swag, gift items, things like that. Okay, so we're also talking about a website and how effective it is. And how long do I stay on that website is called stickiness. It encourages me to come again because maybe there's something that I'm connected with on there, like a game or it's updated news. And it has to be easily navigated around, scrolling, clicking, and not like go off into, some other cyberspace that makes me not want to go back to the website again. And let's see, there's also other things that attract people to our websites, and that's blogs. There's 200 million digital essayists worldwide that have created weblogs on all kinds of interesting topics. I used to have a blog that was called The Gluten-Free Professor. It is defunct. After over a year or so, I was writing for a magazine called The Fig, and it was a local magazine that came out about 4 times a year. But because of that, they wanted to draw people to their website, and they had different blogs on there. And that was one of the things that I did. But corporations use blogs to engage stakeholders of all kinds. And sometimes they can be stealthy advertisers as well. So you have to be very careful of the way that you talk about something. Paid posts are where bloggers plug a product in return for cash or freebies. Maybe some of you have a blog. I know a few of my students from last semester did. And they have caught the attention of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, because of some of the payments that people are getting. But I believe my daughter told me about a blogger. I think she goes to FAU, but she has a blog and quite a few followers. And one of the things that she promotes is these pool floats. And I think it's called like eye candy floats or something like that. But she promotes them on her blog and I guess writes about them. But it's an interesting platform for companies, and I think effective. Socializing, this refers to a hybrid between advertising and corporate-driven social chatter. And it socializes people to talk about your brand. And that also could be where this pool float example comes in, through experiences with the network. So sometimes giving out samples to people so that they talk about it and pass it on is a good way to get people to get your brand out there. This network effect describes the success of Facebook and other social media sites. Own digital media, more information. Experts recommend that companies maintain a regular daily presence in social media, not to overdo it, but to keep themselves out there with authentic and relevant interactions. This builds brands' engagement and relationships. So my question to you is, what social media site do you interact with, and what did you recently act on due to a pushed message? I think a lot of you answered this question in one of the exercises. of something you recently purchased because it was pushed to you. And, it could be something that just catches your eye, something you want to purchase, maybe a topic you want to discuss or understand better. And as we know, mobile marketing is the future, and it's that personal point of sale device that keeps you connected with your customer. So here is the latest thing that's out. I'm sure you've seen it, but Instagram is testing this new shoppable link, so that when you click on something, you never have to leave the page. You just click on it and you can purchase it right from there. So take a look at what they're doing. Now, this came out in March. They have been doing it to some degree, but I think not leaving the page is the key now to something new that's keeping people engaged. Okay, so there's a lot of ways, as you all know, that mobile message delivery can get to your audience. And it can be anything through games, it can be through videos, photo sharing, texting, location services. So this is just a list of all the different messaging options that are out there now on your phone. I don't have to tell any of you about what texting is or group texting. I kind of think this is funny that this is even a slide, since that's one of my pet peeves, is to, especially when I'm teaching in person, to make sure that students are paying attention to me and not texting. So we all know what that is. Another area that marketers are finding success with is branded apps. And this is a great way to connect with a customer. And the way to be less intrusive is to be more relevant and offer an opt-in or opt-out option. There's also geo-targeting capabilities on for mobile marketing now. So you can send quick promotions to someone that is nearby in the area. If you don't want someone to know where you are, then turn off your locator on your phone. Okay, earned interactive media. Let's listen. Okay. So earned again, because now we've talked about paid. We've now talked about owned, and now we're going on to earned. The media carries mentions or stories about a brand through publicity, social media, personal contact, or word of mouth. And earned media carry conversations, complaints, and criticisms, as well as praise, which can be monitored by brand stewards. So all this impacts the brand reputation, which is determined by what others say about the brand. It can be negative or positive. Okay. Media relations specialists seek out to persuade media editors to carry stories. Okay, so the local news might pick up something about, a local organization, such as, hey, Grace Notes, what are they doing for the community? Write a press release, get information out there about their latest fundraiser or event. Sometimes there's slow news days, especially if there's no timeliness to it. It's just a matter of getting information about. But these results are called hits or mentions when a story or significant parts appear in the media. Hits and mentions carry more credibility than advertising, and because it's implied that there's a third-party endorsement. So this comes in a lot of ways. So I say, can you think of an example? So it might be a celebrity that's wearing some sort of clothing or using some kind of beauty product, but they inadvertently become an endorser. Maybe they're not being paid for it. It could be, a particular restaurant that they like to go to. It could be an influencer that tells you about, a special place to go that's, something interesting in South Florida that you follow. So there's a lot of things, but we take it more seriously when it's not a straight up advertisement. Word of mouth marketing is huge. I've talked about this before. It's really that personal conversation that's happening. And rather than the top-down, word-of-mouth brand messages flow side to side, creating a network of shared brand experiences. So, really important um, to communicate and to get influencers out there and brand ambassadors if you are an advertiser or a brand that's trying to get the word out to a particular group of people. So buzz and viral communication, we've already talked about that. Buzz is generated by disrupting common patterns of thinking. Viral communication is how a message spreads throughout acquaintances. It could be via Facebook, Instagram, or literally verbally speaking. So there's also business to business and consumer to consumer influence. Some media plans are designed to reach influential or early adopters whose opinions are valued. Word of mouth marketing strategy is known as brand advocacy or customer referral. So a brand advocate in business to consumer is key to customer or stakeholder. So a brand advocate is someone who may or may not get paid to promote a particular brand or as a product or service. And that person is usually like someone that is not famous. I think I used the example in the last chapter of the bracelet company that we were talking about, Pure Vita, and how they use someone that has a good amount of followers, but looks like the person who uses the product, an attractive young person that's vibrant, that has a good following, that kind of person is a plus. Early adopters are those are the people, exactly what it sounds like. They have to have the latest and greatest right away, whether it be an Apple Watch or AirBuds or AirPods, maybe the latest fashion, jewelry, anything that they're ahead of the curve. That's who companies want to follow. And people have gotten very smart, or companies have gotten very smart, because they're letting people do the work for them, the right people. So we all know what tweets are, and microblogs. They invite users to share their daily doings. Twitter posts are searchable based on hashtags, and tagging, inserting a hashtag so that it's a trackable category. Popular hashtags, what's your favorite? I don't know if any of these are places any hashtags you've used, but these are the most popular, if you didn't know. Reviews and comments. The development of social media has helped reviews pop up all over the web. So companies like Thumbtack or Angie's List are another way that companies are using these influencers. Rather than asking a neighbor, hey, go on Angie's List and see, like, I'm looking for a plumber, or I'm looking for, a karaoke machine to rent. It has several kinds of information on there, but it's an opportunity for local businesses to get reviews by real people and get comments as well, so to go with this or not. Kind of like Yelp. So more on media sharing. Some may find it hard to believe that people talk about brands online, but they do. Fan pages exist for many brands. They also share negative experiences. So fan pages for Facebook include, Coke, that has a huge following, Barack Obama, Justin Bieber. So these are just a list of some top fan pages on Facebook. Online communities, another area where people share information. Fans are an example of online virtual communities. Maybe you're a part of one. They also develop loyalty and relationships and partnerships among followers. And marketers can join these online communities by buying ads or posting images or blogs. So that's what goes on with Facebook for sure. So here's an example of an online community around the smart car. And it gives people information, videos, updates, who are members, just insider information if you're a part of this community. That's an example of what I'm talking about. So, dealing with the negative aspects of earned and interactive media is that, one unhappy customer can, bring the whole place down. As they say, with every negative comment, there's probably a positive one, but sometimes marketers have to intervene so that this negativity doesn't spread. And once you kind of, put a tourniquet on it, at least you can, try to win that customer back, so that they don't continue to pass the negativity on. Because I know many of you, and I'm guilty of this, may or may not have bought a product because of a review we've read. But, any crazy person can put a review up there. So keep that in mind. And I always say, you know what? If you're going to read reviews, then you better give reviews, because it kind of keeps the marketing wheel spinning, and not just negatively. Fake sites can also damage your brand reputation. Phony likes and paid reviews damage trust. Let's see. Most digital media demand resources, staffing and hardware, and social media creates opportunities for valuable referrals, but it's hard to know how much that happens. So it's important for companies to convert the consumer buzz into positive actions. So yes, it's inexpensive, but there is some maintenance and software that needs to be put in place to kind of curate this information for a company. So multi-platform brand communication, it's very important that we just don't use one platform to communicate with our customer, that we hit them from very different sides and use multi-platform, because as we found out from your surveys that you sent out, that there's a lot of different places we get our news and information, not just Instagram, not just Facebook, not just magazines or billboards or podcasts. So media planning now operates across a variety of media and multitude of platforms, so that we are using a variety of ways to get to our customer. So when you're thinking about your media plan with Grace Notes, because of your research, you'll be able to provide me in your presentation and paper the different choices you have made to connect with this customer and why. So virtual marketing programs. Okay, we're getting down to the end of this chapter. And viral marketing programs initiate online communication to circulate a brand message between family, friends, and other contacts. And depending on the public interest, it can distribute a message like really quickly. So we all know viral videos, whether they're cat videos, playing piano, or whatever, have gone viral. And this can be very positive for a brand, or negative. So here's an example of a viral video that I believe it was in Stockholm, but you'll check it out. It involves a piano, but check it out. But in terms of how this can help a company connect with the customer in an unexpected way, yes, it can. So social media marketing just to reiterate here as the chapter ends, mixing different kinds of media, building widespread visibility is so important. It's not necessarily something that works for every product or service. Conversation-based social media is word-of-mouth advertising on steroids. Okay, if you can get someone to talk about your brand and get it out there, it's so important. And social networking sites such as Instagram, such as Facebook, these are very attractive to marketers because, we trust our friends. And I know I may have a lot of Facebook friends that aren't my closest of friends, but if I see something on Facebook from an acquaintance, I'm more likely to look at it than if it was just something that popped up on my phone. Okay. So that's very attractive because there's that trust level going on there to engage with that power of friendship. So that's it for chapter 14. Chapter 15 coming up, and that's all media planning and negotiating, and how you're going to figure out how that works in your budget. Something we're not totally going through thoroughly for our purposes this semester, but something that you need to know.